What's good? I have been thinking about making a video like this. I don't know how deep it'll go, how far it'll go. I have some expectations for things that I actually do want to get addressed, just passed along. I really just wanted to talk overall about my experience in Path of Exile's 3.27 League. I think a lot of things I have learned. I think a lot of things are pretty interesting. I think a lot of things feel pretty good. And I just wanted to talk about like my overall experience with it thus far and what all it is that I have been going through. So for starters, I am actually using like the game plan is to use a Herald autobomber. It's from this specific YouTuber. I could put their link down in the description, or I guess if anybody's curious of the name, I could put it in. I know there are some people who have been making like autobomber builds for the last few seasons. I've been slowly learning Path of Exile and trying out different classes, different builds, different characters, and understanding more and more of the game overall. And I'd say after about 3, maybe 4 leagues or so, I feel like I've got a basic idea of everything down as to like what it is I want to expect from the game, and like my overall progression. But I did want to talk about my experience so far with this league and this build, because this isn't a build that I would normally use. That's A. And B, with this league, I'm slowly actually beginning to use more league mechanics, because I didn't really start using them until about last league, maybe the end of the league before that. So basically, just my journey. We're not going to go through this whole recording. This overall clip for this session is like 4 hours, and I still have several other clips that spanned even further. But so far, because the Herald Auto Bomber is centered around an elementalist, you'll have to use a witch in order to get to her. And so, as you could probably expect, that's exactly what it is I'm playing. With this league's mechanics, everything felt so far to me pretty great in terms of story. The league mechanic felt to be a little repetitive, and that could be potentially a little boring, but honestly, I think more than anything, it felt time consuming. I wasn't entirely sure what was the purpose of it or what I was supposed to be doing in it. I didn't want to watch the trailers. I didn't want to watch like the podcasts. I didn't want to like tune in and have too many spoilers. I kind of just want to come in and just be blasted by everything and try to figure things out. And over time, I would end up watching videos and stuff to get better breakdowns. But so far, with the kind of league start setup guide that the build had, it was actually pretty smooth. You ended up using, I forget the name of the skill. I am so sorry about that. Essentially, I'm just going around throwing waves of what I believe is cold damage at enemies. At one point, I upgrade into arc, and then I use arc for like 15, 20 levels, and then I have a choice to expand into something else, and I ended up going ball lightning and use ball lightning until maps, essentially. Um, the YouTuber that I saw didn't put a lot of explanation into the build or any kind of super guide or anything, and chances are it's probably because the YouTuber, from the sounds of it, had been making this build over and over and over again, and so they tried to keep things extremely short, extremely sweet, and just showed that it still worked. Meanwhile, I'm coming in, I'm seeing this video, and I don't want to go too far back because I'm not sure what to keep up with. And so I'll just skip ahead to where, we see a little bit of the arc, we see a little bit of the ball lightning, and then we're bleeding into maps. Oh, as well as like some of the excess league mechanics as it goes. Okay, I was super wrong. I have several clips of like 2 to 4 hour long mixes, and instead of mixing them all together and cutting them up, I'm just gonna leave them like clip by clip by clip by project, cut and go, cut and go, cut and go. So this footage stops in a good little bit of time. So I'm not gonna be able to show the arc and ball lightning setup in this one. This will just be kind of like the startup. I ended up taking like this. What is it, like orb of spirits? Orb of spirits. Orb of spirits. Orb of storms. I ended up taking this gem. It was not recommended by the build, but I ended up picking it up because I figured, hey, if I'm doing lightning damage, I might as well just keep going anyway. I also recently was using it in Path of Exile 2 before this league came out, and I was finding some pretty good experience with it. So as you can see, by this point, I'm probably... Okay, the monster level is 9. I don't know what level I actually am. I'm probably around 10, 11. I'm usually consistently a few levels higher than whatever the actual content is. But the league mechanic, as you can see, same old, same old. It's basically based off of Breach, and overall, in my experience, when I was first starting out, it did not feel so fun with everything rushing you. If you weren't putting in that consistent damage, you would just fall over and die. When my damage started ramping up, that's when I was able to just clear quicker, get more EXP, and I really do enjoy the overall drops, like the loot and whatnot that come from the mechanics. It's just, I haven't gotten, anything super crazy yet, right? To be honest, in my own gameplay so far, what are we in, like the second or third week of the league so far? I have not seen a divine drop once. My friends had. Now, overall, in terms of like currency from like my chaos orbs and everything, I'd say I've probably accumulated like 5 or 6 divines total. But my friend, on the other hand, has accumulated, I want to say, about 12, 13 divines just drop outright for him. And when they don't drop, he finds, special, he gets lucky and gets like special divination cards that do it. He did give me a divine at one point because we were playing together. It dropped on my map, and instead of just swooping it off and running off with it, he let me know and let me have it. But personally, it hasn't outright just dropped for me, at least not yet. But as you can see, I just want to show a little bit of the progress. The build's picking up. It's okay. Okay, calm down. I'm not tanky. I can't face tank anything. But the build is feeling pretty good in terms of leveling, and really, I'm just kind of eager to get into that next part of the build. So the overall progression of everything feels a little, I don't want to say slow, right? It definitely feels like I'm on a roll. It definitely feels like I'm moving. It definitely feels like I'm getting things done. It's just, since this is the first character for the league, instead of like focusing on trying to get out of story as quick as possible and only focusing on like passive skill quests, I decided to do everything, like all of the quests and damn near every league mechanic whenever I came past it. The only time I stopped was probably around like Act 8 or 9, just because I was tired of running it, man. I'm gonna be honest. Now, we're getting closer to the end of the recording. Like I said, I just don't want to upload a full 2 to 4 hour video because all you're going to hear is like the clicking and clacking of my keyboard, as well as me watching like background videos. By this point, I have 3 heralds in clarity. The build's supposed to be centered around lightning, herald, lightning herald. I did not know that though. I wasn't paying too much attention to the actual build until I'd actually get to the build. So a lot of my actual progression in the game, I thought, because of the way that they were making enemies explode and burn and all this extra stuff, meant that I was going to be using fire and ice, and was wondering how I was going to get about doing it. It's, kind of like how the golem builds are for elementalists, where they use like all of the golems and the golems constantly bring themselves back to life. I thought it was going to be that type of ordeal. But instead of golems, you would use all the heralds, and you would just be like this herald master. But that was not the case. It's actually just solely centered around lightning, and then you have some extra items that are supposed to boost your other like elemental damage, and that's why it looks like it's also using fire and ice and whatnot. And I'll get deeper into it when I actually start touching it. But so far, I just want to give you like a little bit of my experience so far with everything. This is just the beginning. Like I said, I have like 15 other recordings, and while this is going on, I am inside Path of Exile right now, working on a separate build to kind of get the experience for the game through, and I'll explain more later. As you can probably see, I am using Arc instead of that Wave. I thought it was the Wave because the icon looks super similar. In this case, I'm running around zapping enemies like Raiden from Mortal Kombat, or Storm from the Marvel series in general, the Marvel universe in general. now it looks like I'm legitimately casting things rather than just force pushing whatever comes my way. I don't think I actually use a loop filter until probably like maps. So up until this point, I think probably a good portion of the recordings is just going to be me filtering through loop like a rat and trying to figure out what works best. But from my experience so far up to this point, using Arc with the Orb of Storm, and I think there was one other lightning-based gem that I used. I forget the exact one. You can probably see it from the icons. I just don't know the names of them, man. But they're pretty much anything I saw that gave me the opportunity to use lightning, I ran for. And yes, I have a ton of mana reserved for a level 19 area, which means I was probably around like 21, 22, probably. But as you can see, the damage, in my opinion, just it felt great. Using like fire, like Herald of Fire and Herald of Ice, probably was not the smartest option, because unless I see, you can kind of see a proc there, but unless I'm using an item like a wand or something that specifically adds fire and or ice damage to kind of proc, or I have a note in my passive tree to do it, you're not really noticing anything crazy. But me being how I was, I decided to just keep it all going because I wanted to. Frost Blink is probably the closest thing to frost damage I will do, and then the Herald of Fire, I guess, is just there to look pretty. But other than that, the lightning is what's doing the most. As you can see, yeah, I'm holding my own, and this is just kind of the startup of it. I think that the like leveling league portion of it really starts ramping up around the time that I'm 30 to 40, and that's when the game really starts feeling good. So the next video will be centered around that. Yeah, see you.